Affairs unit here. We're here today to talk about Project Lifesaver. This is a little different for me. I do live screens or live feeds daily on our Facebook page, but to do it this way is a little different. So if I'm a little choppy, just bear with me, guys. We're doing our best here in our new abnormal, right?
That's right.
So today we're here to talk about Project Lifesaver. Project Lifesaver is for people that have Alzheimer's, dementia, kids with autism. It's a tool for people that are wandering or have a tendency maybe to wander. Now, this product is it's not for everyone, and it does take some commitment from family members. But that commitment from the family members is supposed to be there to help make it easier for the family member. Might sound a little confusing, but we'll break it down and we'll talk about why that does make it easier. So first off, if you're interested in the Project Lifesaver program, here in Oneida County, there's a few basic things that we need to start with. And this would be pretty similar for any county. Herkimer County, Madison County also run this program. The first question I'm going to ask you is, if you're the client and the family member of the client, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, are you from Oneida County? That's because, as you may imagine, we only service Oneida County currently. And if your answer is no, I'll get your zip code from you and I'll look up on Project Lifesaver's main site and see who is the closest agency that would service you. And then that way we can try to get you connected that way. Even if I can't help you, I'm still willing to put in a little time and effort to try to figure out who that would be as far as who would be the person to help you. The next question I would ask you is, does this person have 24-hour care? And that's a big deal. And that's where we can lose some people. Everyone understands that if you're a caregiver for a person, that you're going to take a few minutes for yourself, whether it be to cook dinner or go in the other room, or maybe you're just sitting out there reading a book on your porch. But you're still in the home with this person, and that's the big thing. You're not running to the local store or the supermarket or wherever and leaving that person unattended. And that's actually a bigger concern than you might imagine. People do it all the time. I went to sign up a new client, and the son, who was a caregiver for the mother, said, my mom likes to walk. And, we're just chatting as we're going through the paperwork, because there is some paperwork to complete. So I find it nice to just, try to see what the person does normally in their routines, things like that, just to try to get us through the conversation. And just, he's like, my mom likes to walk. That's awesome. Where does she walk? In the backyard? Or, no, she goes down the road. I said, wow, you must get a lot of exercise with her. No, I don't walk with her. Why would I walk with her? I said, well, sir, you have me here and you're concerned about her well-being and that she may wander off. And you let her walk by herself. How far does she go? Just a mile or two down the road. At that point, I started to put my things away. Well, what are you doing? Well, you don't meet the criteria of the program. You have to be there with this person. If she wants to walk, that's great. Exercise is a wonderful thing, but you need to be walking with your mom. You need to be with her at that point. And, he had changed his mind and said, okay, then we'll follow the lines of the program. And within a month, he's calling me, telling me that he's no longer interested in the program because it takes up too much of his time, which is concerning. But if the family member is not committed to the program, that's my person. That's my link to the program or to the family. So I need a committed person, whether it be, a mother, father, caregiver, whatever, to make the program work. So now a lot of times at this point, I get the question, why 24-hour care? Why is that important? Well, 24-hour care is our first step to making sure that person's not wandering. Now, again, we all understand you're going to, need to do other things within the home, and you're not going to sit on top of the person in the same room 24 hours a day. You're going to go to bed at night, and if that person wakes up in the middle of the night, there's nothing you can do about that. But you being there as a person to call and let someone know that this person is gone, because this product is not GPS based. It is radio frequency based, which we use this, and we'll get into that in a few minutes, but that's the search equipment. And when we use that, we don't know to use it unless the family member calls us, I guess is the best way to put it. So without that person there, that link to the family, to 911, to us here at the sheriff's office, we need you. We need you just as much as you need us. So that's where it can get a little not confusing, but people need to understand that, I guess, is the best way to put it, that if we don't have that connection, this program's not going to work. And then there's some paperwork that needs to be completed. Here in the COVID-19 status that we're in right now, that we do things slightly differently than we normally would. I'll tell you how it goes both ways. So hopefully here in the near future, we'll try to be positive. We'll be going back out and doing more events, and I'll be able to come maybe out to your establishment. We can talk people up close and personal. But until that happens, right now, what I do is I get as much information as I can from you over the phone. I can be reached at 315-765-2220 or 315-765-2224, and I'll make sure you get all those numbers at the end. We can be reached there. You can contact me through email, and we'll talk about the program, and we'll try to go over as much as we can over the phone. At that point, I will send you out a couple of packets of information that you will attempt to fill out the best as possible. And I know that there's things that you're going to struggle with and you're not going to know the answers to, and that's fine. There's some days that I wonder what those answers are to those questions, and we have to work together. You might think it's one way, I might think it's another, and we kind of, through conversation, we'll come to a general consensus on what's going to work the best for the program. At that point, if you, the person that's signing up the loved one, is comfortable with what we went over, we'll talk about, the cost and the benefits and everything. And as long as you're willing at that point to be that person, the caregiver, and we here at the Sheriff's Office feel comfortable, we will put the equipment on and we will get you set up with the program. In the past, what we would do is I would come out to the house with that paperwork, and I would sit at your kitchen table usually, sometimes right in your living room, whatever was best for you, and we would just chat as we filled out the paperwork. It could take a couple hours. Sometimes people would have me leave it and they'd call me back, and that's fine too. We're very flexible in how we do it. We want it to be as easy as it can be for the caregiver, because unfortunately we do understand that you're very busy and things can get very hectic very easily. And sometimes introducing somebody new into the home, it's not best for the person that is in need of the program. If I'm going too fast, anybody feel free to slow me down. If there's anything anybody needs to know also, just please chime in. I can pick it up as we go. I do my best for you. So we touched a little bit on costs, and now I'll go into that a little deeper. We say that the program cost is usually $300 to start up. Now, we usually waive that fee. And when I say usually, I mean since I know of, the fee has been waived, either between the sheriff saying that we're going to take care of it, grants, generous donations from the public. We've been able to keep that fee, as long as I'm aware of, waived. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, the sheriff wants to make sure that everybody in his county can be taken care of without the worry of cost. And that's great, because there's a lot of families out there, young children or elderly, that just can't afford this, $300. That's a lot of money. But the other reason is when we do find out those families, and it does happen occasionally, didn't give us the proper information. They're not providing the care that they said that they would. This equipment now belongs to the Oneida County Sheriff's Office, and if it's not being used properly, we can take that back. We can tell you that the program's not a fit for you. And, I've been to homes, knocked on the doors, and guess who answers? The child that's on Project Lifesaver. Guess who's home? Just that child. And it's scary. It's scary for me because I don't know how that child's going to react. They don't really know me that well. They know me enough. I stop out and I see them occasionally, but I ended up staying at that person's house until the parents came home. And we had a very long discussion about why that's unsafe. And I do understand that you just made a quick trip to the store, but the child opened the door for me. Somebody, they have no idea who I am. Thankfully, I'm not that kind of, the person I am, and even if I wasn't wearing this uniform, I'm not going to take that child. But there's people out there that would, or the child opened the door for me. What's to say the child wouldn't have just walked out and nobody would have known? So, it's twofold. One, we want to take care of everybody. We want to make it as approachable as possible. But 2, we want to make sure that you're using it properly and we have the availability to take it back if need be. So that's the startup cost. Now, inside here, this is the actual tracker. This is the one I do my training with. Inside there's a battery. Now, those batteries need to be changed depending on what it is. There's 2 different style frequencies. One's for 30 days, one's for 60 days. The 60-day frequency is the newest, and we're trying to phase out as many 30 days as we can. But, you know, there's times in situations where I may only have a 30-day left. And those are the ones we use because they're still good and they still work just fine. We just need to change the battery more often. Now, when we do come out to change a battery, there is we ask for a $10 donation to cover the cost of the batteries. And they say it covers the cost of my time. But there's days that I drive from New Hartford to Blossville. There's no covering time, you know? So I try to just tell families, if it's something you can afford, think of it as you're buying a battery for yourself and for maybe a family that can't afford it. And, you know, and I just try to be honest. Yes, it would be wonderful if this program could be 100% funded. No one had to worry about it. But we all understand that in the times we're in, we're going to, you know, it's not always going to work out. We do the best that we can. If a family can't afford the battery, that's usually the next question. What if I can't afford the $10? We make it work. Right now, we do the best that we can and we make it work. You know, it's been like that as long as I know. Who knows down the road? We're always looking for grants. There's been a couple of very wonderful local businesses that occasionally will send in a donation and say for Project Lifesaver batteries. And, you know, that's great. And we do what we can and we make sure that those are put aside just for that purpose, you know, because we want to make sure that we can keep this program available to as many as possible. When I started this program myself in September of this 2019 is when I started with this program. This program has been going on, I believe, since 2006 in Oneida County. When I started, we had 19 clients. Right before COVID-19 hit, I added my 31st client. We were expanding this program rapidly, 2 to 3 people a month. Unfortunately, when COVID-19 hit, we weren't able to get out and talk to people like this anymore. We weren't able to advertise this program and let people know that it's even available. So I want to thank you guys there at the Parkway Center for inviting me in to do this because I want as many people to know about this program as possible. The sheriff wants as many people to know about this program as possible because it's going to save a life. Thankfully, I haven't had to go out and use the search equipment in real life, but eventually there will be a day. There will be a day that we have to use it. And the training that Project Lifesaver provides is amazing. Just want to touch base on something here. I went on the Project Lifesaver website, and as of yesterday, Project Lifesaver, which is an international company, by the way, from obviously the U.S., Canada, it's in Australia, it's all over. Through yesterday of 2020, there's been 42 rescues with this program. 42 just for 2020. Since the program started, and I believe they just celebrated their 25th year, maybe the 20th. Sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. They've saved 3,680. They've had all, what's the word I'm looking for here? All successful searches. So it's a wonderful thing. You figure that's, you know, in 2 or 3 years, we could be over 4,000 rescues. And that's huge. And we know that eventually one day there will be one in our county. There were in the past and there will be again in the future. But how can we do that? We need to have family members that are, you know, with obviously the client. We need to have people that are willing to, you know, be available for us. So there is one thing that we ask of the caregiver on a daily basis. And it's not very hard. And I'm going to try my best to show it on video. It's a little tricky. So imagine this is on my wrist, right? It's no bigger than about a watch, just to give you some sort of reference. It's about that size, and it goes on with what I would call, I got my little toolbox down here, so if I duck off, I'm just getting some more things to show you. So it goes on with like a hospital-style wristband, okay? And if somebody has an issue with like the plasticky type, I've also got a different version that is, you know, made out of nylon, okay? So we've got a couple of different options, and we're willing to work with you and try whatever works best. So when that's on, okay, so this, should have had this set up a little better, I'm sorry. when this is on there, and then it's on the person's wrist now, okay, like that, what I need from the family member or the caregiver is to take this. This is our battery tester, okay, and I give this to everyone that gets a Project Lifesaver kit. This, you're going to get this, and you're going to put it right against this every day. And if it blinks, you know the battery works, okay? Like I said, the batteries are supposed to be good for 30 to 60 days, depending on which frequency it is. But if you don't test it, we don't know. These batteries, like this one's been sitting on my desk for like, I bet you 3 months, but I don't want to take the risk, and Project Lifesaver doesn't want to take the risk. When you start with the search equipment right here, it's going to drain this battery faster, okay? So just because you tested on the 31st day and it's still fine, well, that's wonderful, but if I start to use the search equipment, is it going to drain that battery faster? So we try to get out there right on the 30-day mark. You know, sometimes things happen. Family members aren't available. You know, we get out there 28 days or 32 days. But you do the best you can to get out there as close as possible, just because you know, we want it to be as you know, best as it can be. So I'll give you a sheet of paper. It's literally like a spreadsheet, and it's got all sorts of information on there. I cheat a little bit. I want to know what day it is and what time you do it in your signature. I don't worry about you writing down every little thing about it. If I don't make it easy for you, you're not going to do it. So what do? Do I hope that 2 or 3 of my clients are going to do it, or do I hope that I can get 90% by making it a little easier for them? So I try to cheat a little bit to get a little more back to it, you know. And you gotta, there's a give and a take in everything. So we try to do what we can to help. So that's what the basic part of the program is, and people are going to then ask, well, what's actually inside there, right? That's something that is a very popular question. So in my little toolbox, and I say toolbox because if you go fishing or anything, you'll know exactly what I have, okay? I bring this with me every time I go. And inside there's things from, there's a lubricant for the O-rings. I've got gloves. Always make sure we got gloves. I've got extra parts and pieces. Hand sanitizer. I've got anything that I could hopefully need. Extra batteries, extra battery testers, scissors. Got a, you know, like a knife. You're gonna say, what do you need that for? Well, you'd be surprised sometimes trying to cut these off, and sometimes you need something a little better than a pair of scissors. And when I started doing this, they had just a little pouch that they carried, and it was a pain. You could never find anything. And I talked to the guy that did supplies. I'm like, you do a lot of fishing. He's like, that seems like a really weird question. I said, no, you're going to know exactly what I need. I said, I need a tackle box. What are you putting in it? And I spilled everything in my pouch onto his desk. He goes, I know exactly what you need. So I know that doesn't really, it's just a funny little story that just kind of says that, you know, not everything that you need, and even with this program, not everything that you need to make this work is going to be Project Lifesaver. Sometimes we need to find things and little tricks and tips that work. I've got a client that he refused to wear this. He didn't really know his wife anymore. Didn't know her name or anything, but he knew that was his lady, and he loved her. Didn't know why. Didn't know anything more than that. I said to him, and because he wouldn't let me put it on, and I kind of picked up that he really, that like anything she wanted, he would do, but he wouldn't put it on for me. I said, hey, she needs this, but she can't wear it. He goes, well, you better put it on me. So sometimes you got to find the things that work. And I don't want to say trick people because that sounds bad, but sometimes you got to find what makes somebody tick to make this work. Sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. We were going to see what was inside these. This program, it's so great, but sometimes you got to figure out how it's going to work for each family because every family is different. So this is what the actual thing looks like. I don't know the technical term. I call it the egg. Okay. And if somebody, I had a mom call me, she said, my son cracked his egg. I knew exactly what she was talking about. And, you know, these things are just plastic. They're going to break. Things happen. Okay. As long as I don't think you're maliciously damaging this equipment, we're going to do the best we can to take care of you. If I think that people are damaging this equipment on purpose, well, there's a sheet and a cost for everything. So we'll go to there. Inside there, next up is this is the chip, as you'll call it. This is the money maker, okay? This is what actually works. So that is what sends out the ping, the beacon, whatever you want to call it. So that goes right in here, okay? And it just sits in there. A battery, one of these, sits right on top of it. And this one's already got an O-ring in it. You see that little black ring? That's an O-ring seal. And then all of this with the battery on top of it, just twist down. Sorry, I'm probably holding it too low. You can't see anything. And then you get the special key we have. And then that turns down and it seals. Now, something else I probably should have mentioned is that if you're on this program, you wear this 24 hours a day. You don't take it off. And that's a common question I get. Well, what about showers? What about this? What about that? I've got a little boy that does competitive swimming, and he wears it every time he gets in the pool. So don't worry about showering, and we can encourage you to do dishes. It'll be fine, I promise. It will seal, and it will be fine. Now, if you're taking a tub, you're in the pool, you're doing dishes, you see a couple weird bubbles, give me a call. Again, I've seen these crack, especially with the younger kids. They swing their arms a little more aggressively than the people my age and above. They're a little wild. And sometimes people fall, and you land on these things, and just a little crack, and you just don't know. So if you see a funny bubble, give me a call. I'll get out there as soon as I can. Maybe the seal's got a little rip in it. Who knows? So now we have this, and this is on someone, okay? The next step is you're on the program. We're doing everything we need. You're filling out your battery sheet. I'm coming out every 30 to 60 days, depending, and, checking on you. And it can get to the point with other programs that have gotten bigger. I've talked to some other local, when I say local, I mean New York State, people that have Project Lifesaver. And it's gotten to the point where the families have to change the batteries themselves, because usually they're only one person and you get 70, 80 clients. Even if they're every 60 days, you try to stagger them the best that you can. You'd be every day going to somebody's house to change a battery. There's days there's weeks in a month that I'm doing the same thing, but thankfully right now our program is small enough, and maybe someday we get there. I don't know how the sheriff will want to handle it, but that'll be a decision for another day. So I come out for two reasons. One, because I want to make sure that's changed correctly. It's not too bad. I could teach you how to do it. It's not hard. The other reason I like to come out is because you sit down with somebody and you talk to them. And again, right now with COVID, it makes things hard, but you get a feel for the family. A lot of times face-to-face, and I'm sure anyone here from the Parkway Center will agree with me. You sit down with somebody and talk to them, you get a lot different answer than you do over the phone or over email. Sometimes it takes that face-to-face conversation to know if everything's all right or not. They'll always tell you over the phone everything's fine, but you sit down and you can see something different in their eyes if something's not all right. And like I said at the beginning, this program's not going to work for everyone. And if it doesn't work for you, let us know. Maybe it does. Maybe it's great. I hope it works for as many people as possible. But it's not always, with anything, it's not always going to work for your family. So, again, I'm getting off on these tangents. I'm sorry.
Okay,
so
Curtis.
inside here, there's that chip. And again, I put it in there. Sorry. So that chip is a radio frequency, okay? And each one has a different radio frequency. Now, Project Lifesaver says that you can have two of the same within, I think it's like 10 square air miles. I only have two that are the same, and this is one of them, and it's only used for testing. The other one I have out with a client. So if I can avoid having two of the same, just because I try to. Like I said, the only one I have two of is this one. So this one is my training tool. With Project Lifesaver, there's training all the time. One of the best trainings that I've personally ever been to was a Project Lifesaver training. They brought us up to the old Oneida County Airport over here in Oriskany. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. So you sat down in the classroom and you do the classroom training, and everybody knows classroom training is a little dry. But they told us, all right, we're going to do some real world training. And I said, okay, real world training. This could be fun. So they had us go out with our search equipment, and they brought us to a building up on the runway. And it's like a 4 or 5 story building, Looks like they had airplanes in it at one point. This And they handed us a little note that had these different frequencies on it. And now, like, all the frequencies we have in this area start with 216, and then it's dot, and then whatever. So this one in this case is 642. So they handed us a sheet of paper with 3 frequencies on it. And this is like a 6-story building with offices and all these things. And I said, well, what's that? And they said, those are your client numbers. They're lost in here. Go find them. Wow. Oh, okay. And boy, you want to talk about a way to really learn to trust the equipment. It's getting out in there in the real life, you know. Some of these people, they had hiding, like you would probably find kids, you know, in a closet somewhere hiding. Some of them, they had like literally wandering and running the building. And at one point I was sure I found one. I found it. I know it. I go in this room and the beep is as strong as could be. And I'll show you that in a minute. And nothing. I can't, where is this person? This is the first time I've ever really used one of these in a training. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And one of the guys is like, try pointing it up and down. I'm like, it's not that sensitive. Well, he's from Project Lifesaver. He knows it's that sensitive. And what do you know? I pointed it up, and he was probably 2 floors above me in the exact same spot that I was. So then after that, they're like, well, we have some more training for you. Well, now I'm feeling pretty confident. I know what I'm doing. They take us out to the end of the runway. You get off this old like 1970s school bus, and the bus drives away. Your people are in the woods. Go find them. And it's a heavily wooded area over there. And I'm talking cattails taller than your head. You're just, it was as real as it can get without it being real. But boy, let me tell you, you just barely hear the faintest scent of a beep. And you know that you got to start heading that way as fast as you can, trying to get the stronger signal. And it's amazing that this product, this little egg with that transmitter in it, you get about 1.5 miles to 2 miles of range. And that's another reason why it's important to know when that person left. You know, normally it's good to know what they're wearing, which direction they headed. But if you don't know that, well, we know they have this on, and we know that we can head in that direction that the beep is. So that's really important. So let's say somebody is on Project Lifesaver and they did get lost. Well, I have a folder that has a photo, information, name, height, weight, and these are things that we update all the time. You would call 911. In the 911 call center, they have a Project Lifesaver binder. Inside that binder, it's got the same things that I have. And I have a folder in my office. I have a folder in what you would call the get ready area, where like the guys, the road patrol guys, can all have access to it. We have 911 there, one in the bag that I take everywhere is with me. So there's plenty of information out there for us to know if 911 calls and says this person's missing. So you would call and you would, 911, how can I help you? You would say, I'm, you know, so-and-so, this person's on the Project Lifesaver program and they're lost. So now they instantly know at 911 that we have to do something a little bit different. Yes, they're still going to call out people and send the regular group of people in the area to come and do a search. But they also know they have to call one of the people within the agency that have been trained with the Project Lifesaver. I believe there's about 20 of us right now. And that was something that we were looking to expand this year. Unfortunately, COVID-19, the trainings have been postponed. Where that heads, I don't know exactly at this point. But once trainings do come back out, it is something we're interested in trying to get even more people set up with. So you'd call the 911 center, they'd call us, we'd come out. So now I'm gonna try to, if I get out of the frame, somebody just wave to me or something and let me know. I'm gonna try to back up so you can see a little better. I know obviously when I'm sitting here like this, it's easy, but so we're gonna have this device right here, okay? So what this is this is the Project Lifesaver, what I would call the search tool. Now there's 2 different kinds. There's this one, and then I've got another one in the bag over there. If we got time at the end, I'll pull it out for you. It does the exact same thing. It just looks a little different. Now this one, I like if we're in a heavily wooded area, let's say, because it's a little smaller. I mean, you can kind of see it up against me. It's about as wide as my shoulders. But you're going through a heavily wooded area. Boy, that's a little tricky, you know. You're trying to weave this in and out, right? So on here, and I'm going to try to make sure you can see it. It's probably upside down. So you can see here, I don't know if you can see, it says 642, okay? And there's that 6 up there because all our numbers are 216. So this one is 642 is the last 3 digits. So I'm just going to have it sitting here on the desk. And the first thing I would do when I showed up is obviously I would talk to everybody which direction did they head and try to find out some basics, right? First thing I would do when I get this piece of equipment out is I would test the battery. Okay, battery's still within range. Now, you're going to say it's a little on the low side. In the little pouch that it comes in, I've got 3 or 4 extra batteries in here. So if I was to go to search, the first thing I would do is I'd throw those in my pocket just in case, because you don't want to get stuck somewhere halfway through with a dead battery. That would be pretty terrible. So we get this out, and now we're ready to do our search, okay? Obviously, if we were doing this at the Parkway Center, I would have walked out of the room. I would have asked one of the nice young ladies over here to the side to give this to somebody in the room. Okay, it's a little harder to find when somebody's just got it curled up in their hand and I have no idea what they look like, but I can usually get within a chair or two without being able to see it. Because figure if I'm out on a search, I'm looking for somebody my size instead of something the size of a watch. And most of the time, the ladies, they get it because they always seem to want to do it. They'll hide it in their hand or put it in their purse, and they're like, oh, but, you know, they like to give me a hard time, and that's fine because I can take it, you know. It's tough being the middle kid. Sometimes you learn to take it a little better than the rest. So that's actually something I miss doing, to show people real life. Here I am walking into a room. I have no idea who has it, what they look like, and I can get pretty darn close to you, unlike in the real world where I'll have a picture of you in your height, weight, things like that. So I would turn this on, and I'm just going to try to show you. I know it's hard. There's a shine on things. So I'll turn it on. So I'm sure, hopefully you can hear that beep. Can you guys hear the beep?
Yes.
Awesome. And if you look right there, you can see it on there. And that's just one more thing in case you can't hear the beep. That will give you some sort of indicator. Generally speaking, I wouldn't want to wear the headphones unless it's winter, because obviously the more comfortable you are when you're out doing a search, the better search you're going to be able to do. In the summer or any other time, I want to be able to hear you or whoever I'm working with holler to me if they hear something, see something, find something. I don't want the headphones cutting me off. So as you can hear right now, if I turn this, and remember the egg's on the table, you'll hear how much louder it gets. And now if I pick it up like this, it's quieter. And it's not just that way because I'm not pointing at you. So this is actually on the finest setting that we have. There's 4 settings on this one, okay, from long to close to long. So if I turn this to long, I don't want to do that yet. Hang on, it's gonna be way too loud. I'll turn that to long, and we're getting a pretty okay thing. So now I have this in my hand now, and I'm gonna put it right towards the front of it. And now that's at the long setting. So now I'll put it to close, and you'll see the difference. So it's very fine-tuned, okay? And it's one of the bonuses of this. And another thing we can do too is change the beep. So if I'm searching with somebody else, we don't necessarily hear the same sound, which you would think isn't a big deal, but it kind of is, because you sometimes, and that's nice too, even if you're by yourself, to just hear a different sound. You can get real into it. Yeah, I heard it. No, you didn't. And again, being out in the woods looking for people really proved the point. So when we're out searching, and pretend I'm standing because that'll be easier, we keep it about this level and we just go side to side as we walk. And you try to keep it as level as possible, and that gives you a pretty good idea of where they are. So like I said, this product will cover about 1.5 miles to 2 miles, which is pretty far, all things considered. But we have other things at our disposal that work with it. So, sorry, I should have had this one out too. This is the other piece of equipment, and this one has an extra feature that one doesn't. So this one, the best way I can explain it is it kind of looks like a TV antenna, okay? And this is why this one's a little more difficult when you're walking through the woods, because now that last one that was as wide as my shoulders, this one is too, but it's also probably about 3 to 4 feet long, where the other one's only about 1.5 feet long. And it's a little bit heavier, which after an hour or two could make quite a difference. But the special part about that one is that it can hook up to this. And again, I apologize, I should have took all this out. This is the antenna for the roof of the car, okay? It's got a magnet. We throw it on the roof of the car. We plug it into that device. Now, it does cut down the distance that it can travel, but the good part about that is I can be out in the woods searching behind your home. I can get another person, put that on the roof of their car. They can go 2 streets down, okay? And they can either tell me that the ping, the beep, however you want to call it, the frequency hit is now coming from the other side of where I am or back towards where I'm going into. So we can easily square off the area. So, you know, I'm here, he goes to this road. Now, is the sound coming from up here or in between us? If it's coming from in between us, now we can really narrow down our search area, that's probably the biggest advantage of that one. It really helps narrow things down. And that's important because the quicker we can narrow it down, the better we are. You know, a day like today, if you're lost in the woods, that's one thing. You know, middle of winter, 20 below, who knows what kind of clothing you have on. You know, it really could change the game. That's kind of the long and the short of the Project Lifesaver program. If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, anything I can try to help you with, I'd be more than happy to.
I'd like to open it up to anybody that's on right now, if you have one, because I have sort of a scenario playing in my mind. If we give more information out to our seniors who are, for the most part, Curtis, they come to the center independently. But, you know, we do have some with some cognitive issues, or we do have some that have a partner at home. But I didn't know if I didn't see any questions on the group chat. Does anybody have anything to add?
I have one quick question. What do you say to people that are maybe a little bit concerned about the commitment that this project requires? How do you help get them over that hump if somebody's really in need?
As far as commitment goes, I haven't had a lot of issues with that. Basically, what I get is people either say I'm interested, but I don't know. And like I said at the beginning, if you want to try it for 30 days and you decide it's not for you, I'm more than happy to come take it back. As far as the commitment, I mean, usually once somebody is committed to 24-hour care, to the once a day to check the battery is not a big thing for them. And again, it doesn't just have to be one person. Maybe I should have clarified that also. So let's say there's 4 of us here, right? At least on my screen. If maybe I do during the day and Todd does at night, and you young ladies both take a day on the weekend, that's still 24-hour care. No different than when I have a young man or woman going to school. Yeah, parents aren't there with them, but he's on the bus with somebody, he or she's on the bus with somebody, the teacher's there with them. So that falls into that too. And sometimes when you explain it to people that way, it does put some ease to it, because it doesn't necessarily have to just be that one person. As long as whoever's helping you or taking care of the client understands that there is kind of that special set of, I don't want to say rules because that's not the right word, but I don't have the better word. As long as they understand that, it doesn't matter who's helping you and who's taking care of the person that day. As long as they know that I can't really leave them by themselves. And if, something does happen, I just need to make sure that the 911 operator knows they're on Project Lifesaver. As long as they can handle that for you, there's really no problem with somebody else taking care of that person for the day or for an extended period of time. One thing I did forget to mention, and I don't know why it just popped into my head, if the client ever ends up in the hospital, this is a big deal. I need the caregiver to cut this off, put it in their pocket, their purse, whatever, and you give me a call, let me know they're in the hospital, so I'll make a note on my end. And then when they get out of the hospital, you give me a call. I'll come out that day, the next day, whatever it is, and I'll put it back on them. The reason being is hospitals like to throw these away. I have no idea why. I know, again, I've only been doing it since September. I've lost 2, even though I tell people. And I didn't even know about it until one of the colleagues out in Madison County called me to make sure that I knew, because they had a couple go missing at their local hospital, and they actually had sent one of their guys out with the equipment to try to find it at the hospital, but it had already gone through the incinerator. Why the hospital would throw these away, I don't know. It looks kind of important. You'd think they'd stick it in the person's bag like they would a wallet, right? But that is something big I like to stress to people. If you do end up in the hospital, please just cut it off. Or when they cut it off, make sure you get it. We got to do something as far as, I can't be mad at somebody when it happens. It's not their fault. But it is I think they're up to $350. I tell people it's $300, but I think they're $350 now.
Okay, well, Sarah has a question, and you were just mentioning it as you were saying there was a couple in Madison County, so there's some communications, but she asked if there was an Oneida County resident, but they wandered into a different county, because like I'm Herkimer County, but I'm right on the line of Oneida Herkimer County. And so if you have someone that's in Oneida County and they live close to Herkimer County, how do you all connect that way?
So I have a couple of cases that aren't exactly the same as that, but they're not all that different. I've got one young man that goes to school in Utica, but he is from Herkimer County. So what we normally do in a case like that is Herkimer County called me, or whoever was in this position of the program at that time, and said, you're going to have this young man coming to school in your area. And they give us a copy of his profile with his picture and with the number to his frequency number. And we make a special note in our book. Let's just say Todd is now attending school in Utica. He is from Herkimer. We're not responsible for any battery or equipment issues, but in case a call does come through, here is his information. And we usually put that in a special spot in our binder. I haven't had any specifically that I've had to contact other counties for, but seeing how easy that went and how smoothly it is when, Herkimer County needs to do something, I would probably treat it the same way, just because it is easy that way. Call up, because I can get on the site and see who the administrator for, let's say, Madison County is. Give them a call. Hey, I'm going to fax you over a copy of all this person's paperwork. I know he's in our county, but he does end up in Madison County for schooling. Just want to make you aware that he is in your county. So if the school or caregiver, let's say it was a daycare, called 911, they're going to get Madison County, and they're going to say he is on Oneida County's Project Lifesaver, but Madison County is aware. Maybe an extra step we got to let people know, and to let them know what to tell the 911 office. But again, if you called Madison County 911 and said this person's on Oneida County's Project Lifesaver, those 911s are centers just like the police offices. They're very connected. It would not be hard for someone else to make a quick call to find out that information. Something else that I thought of with that question, you're going to go on vacation. It's that time of year. People are going to go camping, go places. If you're one of my clients, give me a call. Let me know you're going on vacation. I'll punch the zip code in of where you're going. I will give you the phone number to the local office that treats isn't the right word, that handles Project Lifesaver in that area. And you can, that way have one more contact if need be.
Curtis, I don't know if you could see the question there, but I just typed it in.
So Shannon asked if the device is waterproof, and absolutely. I mentioned it at one point earlier. I've got a young man that swims competitively with these, okay? They are 100% waterproof. Again, if you see a funny bubble when you're doing the dishes, taking a bath, something like that, give me a call. We'll come out. It's very possible the O-ring's gone bad, or if it's a younger person, maybe they hit it on something and it cracked. These things do happen. They are made of plastic. They're tough. Don't get me wrong, they're tough, but things do happen.
Great. So I think you did a great job, Curtis, covering the Project Lifesaver program. I'm so eager to share with our members again for Thursday so we could talk about scams.
Yes.
During this new.
I've been doing a little research on the scams. I've I've been trying to find some of the newer ones on COVID. I did find some COVID specific, and then I've got the ones that we usually try to touch base with. The grandparent scam has been a really big one. I actually have an article from WKTV about how it happened in Ilion, but that's been a really big deal as of late. So, I'm excited for it. We're going to have some fun. We're hopefully going to get some questions and some interactions, and hopefully it benefits at least one person. That's kind of my goal at every one of these. If we can benefit one person, it was worth doing. Any more than that is just kind of gold, right?
Yes, that's right, Curtis. And we could certainly look to doing this again in July, because as the senior centers are in phase 4, so, we just don't have a date. We don't have a time frame.
You are welcome. You have all my contact information. Please